Shinies. Who doesn't like them as a concept, regardless of whether you hunt them or not? For those of us who do hunt them, most are worth hunting, as in, their shiny forms seem a reward to us. But some shiny forms leave much to be desired. In most cases, a shiny is good if it's different enough from the normal form to be noticeable without the need of a side-by-side comparison with its normal form. I would like to discuss all of the shinies that fail this, with one twist. That would be, they used to have good shiny forms, but the 3DS made it so their shiny forms are either much worse or flat out terrible. Now you might think, well, that sounds too obscure. Well, it's more common than you think. So, after looking at all 649 Pokemon that had 2D models that were upgraded to 3D for Gen 6, I've decided these Pokemon fall under this classification. Pidgey, while once was a very noticeable shiny, is not the worst offender here, but I feel like I would struggle to point out its 3D shiny if I missed the sparkles. And I have once found a shiny Pidgey in HESS, so I know its shiny back in Gen 4 was reasonable. Jigglypuff's shiny would be awful and unnoticeable if it weren't for its green eyes. On shinies with a darker or lighter skin tone that was the same color, most were ruined so that they were too hard to distinguish, and that's just Jigglypuff, with its skin tone being almost the same in Gen 6 and onwards. Meowth is another Pokemon I would struggle to notice without a side-by-side comparison. While I guess Meowth's shiny would be partly labeled as poor in the first place, for not being too different, the 3D model dilutes the colors even more, so it's even less noticeable now. Slowpoke suffers an effect that some Pokemon later on this list suffer, where its 3D model is much closer to a shiny color, which was, in the sprite, a fairly big difference, where normal Slowpoke was much more red, but now pink, and its shiny is only paler, slightly, which doesn't work too well when you find a pale Slowpoke in the wild and miss the shiny animation. Haunter is, well, I understand it isn't the best shiny, but the outlines in the sprite were really noticeable. You know what Game Freak did? They got rid of them. Or at least, made them too thin to see. The only noticeable difference is the mouth color, but honestly I feel even that could trick some, as the color scheme still matches well with Haunter's body, so I feel people could easily miss that. Like its pre-evolution, Gengar's shiny probably could have been better, but Gengar's new shiny is worse with the diluted colors, as it doesn't have one body part you could just use as a reference point like its mouth, or in Jigglypuff's case, eyes. The only difference is a somewhat different shade of its body, which isn't even that great compared to its sprite days having a normal purple and a grayish shiny that were very sharp. Lantern is one of the best examples on this list. Take a look at it in its Gen 4 sprites, which are very different. Then look at Gen 6. What happened? They aren't even the same color. How do you mess that one up? Blue equals purple, durr. Okay, fair enough. This one goes out to not just Togepi, but its entire evolution line, because Game Freak screwed this one up just that badly. They have reverse color patterns with shiny, which could easily get confusing. Togekiss' shiny sprite is actually pretty good. Then Gen 6 hit it, harder than Lance's Dragonite's Hyper Beam hit that Team Rocket grunt. Why? I swear this one was Game Freak intentionally trolling us. Like, you could easily have made Togekiss' 3D shiny better than that. Sunkern is, yet again, you know what? You can predict a lot of Pokemon on this list if their shiny forms are just like a tone lighter or darker, because the 3D models, for whatever reason, couldn't handle that. So Sunkern is, yet again, another example of that. Like I said, there'd be a lot of examples like this on the list. Elekid is a real kicker in Gen 6 and beyond. Oh boy, just look at both forms. There's no way I would think this shiny unless I saw it sparkles. True, the difference is subtle in its sprites, which I wish Game Freak would just stop making shinies like that. But I will say this, if this video was like a top 10 style video, it would be near the top. Well, I wouldn't say Combusken's shiny isn't as boring as some on the list. It's seen better days, and by better days I mean it's pre-Gen 6 days. It was somewhat sharper then. I mean, its shiny isn't that bad in Gen 6 compared to some of these other shinies, because it is somewhat noticeable, but it's not good. Slacking's shiny is I feel just a fail in Gen 6. Its two forms are too similar because even the part of its body that changes color is too nuanced, whereas the older games make it more noticeable. Given Plusle and Minun being counterparts, I think Plusle should take note from Minun. Don't change the tone of color, just change the color entirely. You get a very noticeable shiny that the color dilution just hurts on Plusle's shiny. In fact, most of the shinies here wouldn't be here if they just got a completely different color for their original color. You know? Show me the best, Reggie. I meant added the legendary golems. Ah yes, Regice. Its shinies' glory days are long gone. They're distant memories. Back in my day, a normal Regice was a nice shiny hunting target. The ordinary Regice was a grayish color, while shiny was a light blue color. By Gen 5, its two forms got more similar looking, but it wasn't as bad as the 3D games made it. Honestly, I feel like Regice is the best example of a shiny gone bad on this list, having a really good shiny being turned into an awful one. I have no problem with Game Freak changing the shiny appearance every now and then, but if you do, please, 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 make sure its normal form and shiny form don't look too similar. Fiona is a Pokemon I could probably list many reasons I don't like it, but we'll save that for another time. In Gen 4, while subtle, it's not too difficult to notice. Gen 6 makes its body almost the same color in both gens. While you might say the jewel-like thing on its torso is a giveaway, the problem is it's so small. Even then, you'd probably only spot the shiny if you had both forms next to each other. Last but not least, we have Petalil. Petalil's green was once noticeable from its more yellow shiny form, but then the evil 3D curse came and made it a much more yellow-green, which, while not bad as a color in itself, makes Petalil not really stand out from its shiny, unfortunately, and that's only because of the fact that green was sharper in its sprite. So, there's my relatively long list of Pokemon. Unfortunately, this happens more than you probably thought, and there were honestly a good few more Pokemon that would have been here that I was seriously considering and debating, if I had not taken the time to realize, okay, I guess they just barely missed the list. Like, just barely. A lot of Pokemon just barely missed the list. So it was like, okay, I guess it's slightly noticeable, so yeah. Like, it's noticeable enough, but just barely. Which includes a few Pokemon like Leafeon and Archeops. My question is, would you guys like to see more videos focusing on shinies? Because as a shiny hunter, I do enjoy discussing my opinions and thoughts on them. Maybe even sometime I might make some sort of shiny trivia video or something. I don't know. Just sort of thinking that at the back of my head. Anyway, that'll be it. So if this video interested you, please do consider leaving a like. That does help. Sharing this does definitely help. And of course, sub if you aren't already part of the Ottoman Empire. And if you've watched this far into the video, I don't know why you wouldn't sub. Like, if you haven't already. Until then, goodbye.